It just means more was coined before Oklahoma and Texas joined the SEC. Now it means everything. Thanks for stopping by here at the Voice of College Football for the very best in discussion, debate, and analysis. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Hit that bell for the notifications to know when we go live. We are marching through the power conferences, providing our Power Rankings Summer Edition. We've moved on to the SEC. We get the Big Ten to go. Check out the Big 12 and the ACC. And our easiest selection anywhere, number 16 in the SEC, Vandy. Clark Lee said a couple SEC media days ago that this is going to be the greatest program in college football. They're still that shy of their goal. Now, there's a coaching adage that says if you've got a talent deficit and you're trying to make that up, then you have to trick or deceive the opposition. You've got to present them with a look that they don't see the rest of the season, i.e. the military academies and, of course, Georgia Tech under Paul Johnson. Vanderbilt's going in that direction. They're inputting the option offense even to the extent where they've got a guard tackle rotation that they're working on to provide the best blocking for each individual play. 4 wide receivers have transferred. I wonder why. They do have a quarterback battle, and we'll have to throw it at times. Nate Johnson is a transfer coming in, and, of course, Diego Pavia. Clark Lee will no longer, I'm guessing, blame the defensive coordinator because he is the new DC. And Vanderbilt was number 109 in the nation in yards pass attempt again. A lot of explosive plays against the Commodore defense in 2023. And they brought in some transfer portal guys to try to fix that. At number 16 in the SEC, Vandy. Everybody seems to like Sam Pitman, but the man has to win football games to keep his job. 4-8 repeated. Will probably lose Sam Pitman his SEC head coaching position, but the Hogs are in a tough spot, of course, in a loaded SEC. Taylon Green's the new starting quarterback, replacing KJ Jefferson. Green won a Mountain West Conference championship, but he's got to be more consistent through the air. Like Jefferson, he's a threat on the ground as well. No more Rocket Sanders. He's off to South Carolina. This Arkansas offense is in a bad position. The offensive line was awful last season. Bobby Petrino is going to try to scheme around inferior line play because I don't see an answer on defense as well. The defense improved so much in 2023 from 2022, but transfer portal losses could be killing this team. And 4-8 is likely again. At number 15 in the SEC, Pig Suey. Like Sam Pittman, Shane Beamer, well-liked. That may be soon. Once was well-liked. You got to win, and South Carolina was miserable last year at 5-7 after Shane Beamer upgraded this program from the Will Muschamp end of era. Spencer Rattler made up for a lot of issues on this team last year, and I know he takes a ton of criticism, but man, he was behind the 8 ball last year with no running game, no offensive line, and he played extremely well. Lenoris Sanders is a redshirt freshman. To expect him to meet Rattler's performance, the running game's got to get better. The offensive line was overmatched, 85 yards rushing per game. Rocket Sanders in from Arkansas to help cure that. They lose Juice Wells, one of the best playmakers in the SEC, but Nicholas Harbor might be fun to watch. Of course, he's the former 5-star from the 2023 class. South Carolina generally overmatched our number 14 team in the SEC. Big offense must work at Mississippi State. Dan Mullen had a nice run in Starkville, of course. Then it was Mike Leach, God rest his soul. They went defense and Zach Arnett to replace Leach. He was gone after 10 games. Now they go back to big offense and one of the best minds in the game, Jeff Lebby. Look at the work at Ole Miss and at Oklahoma. We think spread them out, throw it all over the field, but they were top rushing attacks at those 2 stops for Lebby. Top 3 in the SEC both seasons at Ole Miss. And then they go explosive. So you get the best of both worlds with Jeff Lebby at the helm if he's got the players to work with. I don't know that Baylor's Blake Shapen is the answer at quarterback. He's going to do a good job. He's going to make decisions, but he's not dynamic in any such way. The defense has been solid at State in recent years, regardless of the head coach. But they lose the top 2 tacklers. Get this, the top 2 tacklers in the SEC the last 2 seasons, Jet Johnson and Nathaniel Watson. In fact, Mississippi State losing 7 of its top 8 tacklers from 2023 could be a rough beginning for Jeff Lebby as he gets started in Starkville. At number 13 in the SEC, Hail State. When you mention Florida football heading into 2024, you got to say 2 things. Billy Napier, hot seat, brutal schedule. Not just the toughest in college football this season, maybe the toughest in recent memory. Look at the final 5 games. Heck, look at the final 7 games, and it starts with a date against Miami in the Swamp. All right, let's get to the personnel. Starts with Graham Mertz. Much different, much improved quarterback than what we saw at Wisconsin, where he was a 50s percentage guy, 73% in the SEC. I believe that set an SEC record. He lost his go-to guy, Ricky Pearsall, to the NFL, but in steps Chimere Dike from Wisconsin and other playmakers on the offense. Montrell Johnson's really good running back, but he's not a home run hitter, and they lost that guy in Trevor Etienne going to, of all places, Athens, Georgia. And the offensive line gave up 22 more sacks in 2023 than the previous season and rushed far less, 1.2 yards per carry, less than in 22. They stacked up in the transfer portal on defense, including South Carolina's Pup Howard and Asa Turner coming in from national championship game participant Washington to help the secondary. At number 12 in the SEC, Gators. We all know Mark Stoops can coach. He's now lauded as one of the top 10 or 15 coaches in college football. However, has his program flatlined at 7-5, 8-4. They started 5-0 last year, then hit a buzzsaw against Georgia, 51-13. Speaking of which, Brock Vandegrift comes in from Athens to replace Devin Leary, Will Levis. Good recent quarterbacking for the Wildcats. And again, Vandegrift was a former 5-star. He's got a good backup, too, in Gavin Wimsatt, who led Rutgers to a 7-6 record. The offensive line was atrocious last year, so that needs to be fixed. Don't know if they've got the players to do it up front. They've got a new offensive coordinator in Bush Hamden, who replaces the departed, again, Liam Cohen, who will probably be coaching with the Cats in 2025 because this is what he keeps doing, NFL Kentucky, NFL Kentucky. All right, Deion Walker leads the defense. He's one of the best players in the country. They also bring in Georgia's Jamon Dumas-Johnson to make some plays in the back 7. At number 11 in the SEC, UK. Is Auburn ready to take that step? Well, Hugh Freeze is certainly ready to take it after a 6-7 campaign. He's known for offense, and we'll see how good he is on that side of the football, especially in the passing game. It was deplorable last year, and Auburn did nothing at the quarterback position. Bring back Peyton Thorne, the former Michigan State starter, who had better days in East Lansing that he showed on the Plains. Still, Auburn should have beat Alabama, could have beat Georgia en route to that 6-7 season. Cam Coleman comes in as a top-flight wide receiver, and he flashed in the spring, as did a number of wide receivers in the recruiting class. Jarquez Hunter is one of the top backs in the league, and Auburn can run the football. They were 4th in the SEC in rushing. The offensive line is solid. They bring in Robert Lewis to help out a wide receiver from Georgia State, and also Keandre Lambert-Smith from Penn State. Those two guys combined 123 catches in 2023. On to the defense. DJ Durkin takes over, and they brought in some transfer portal additions, including Isaiah Rakes from USC. At number 10 in the SEC, War Eagle. If you watch us on a regular basis here at the Voice of College Football, you know I love the work of Mike Elko. What he did at Duke is remarkable. He took a team that was 1-16 in the ACC the previous 17 games. Same roster, same personnel. Got within one drive of the ACC championship game in 2022. 2023, Riley Leonard at quarterback. They had a third quarter lead in Tallahassee against undefeated Florida State. Finished 8-5 that season. All right, now he comes back to Texas A&M, where he helped to build and recruit this defense, which, despite all those losses through the transfer portal, still, they've got talent all over the place on defense. Offense, Connor Weigman's got to stay healthy. It was a missed blocking assignment that sent him out for the season last year. Now, that happens all the time, missed blocking assignments, but it's apropos for Texas A&M because the pass blocking was atrocious, and it's got to get better. The offensive line, there's really only one guy, dependable guy, coming back as a starter. And so they got to get better there. Offensive coordinator Colin Klein, coming in from Kansas State, may have to scheme around a bad offensive line. Evan Stewart at wide receiver, Walter Nolan, defensive lineman. The latest of the two defects from the 2022 all-time greatest class. That, again, there's still a lot of excellent defensive recruits from all those Jimbo Fisher classes, but they lost most of the star power from that all-time class. Mike Elko, good fit for Texas A&M. He was the right hire. This is the 9th ranked team in our power rankings. Gig 'em. While this is widely proclaimed as Texas' best time to join the SEC, I don't know if the same can be said of Oklahoma. The jury is out. They've got a new starting quarterback in Jackson Arnold. He's unproven. 4 turnovers against Arizona despite 361 yards passing in the bowl game in a loss. Offensive weapons, Oklahoma's better than they've been since Lincoln Riley left. The wide receiver core, the best under Brent Venables, especially bringing in Deion Burks from Purdue. And then they've got a running back tandem of Javonte Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk. They came in together in the 22 class. Maybe not elite, but they're really good. Again, SEC, are you going to be good enough up front, both sides of the football? The defense is ultra experienced with guys like Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman, who have played a ton of football. Peyton Bowen was one of the best freshman defensive players in the nation last year. Oklahoma, ready for the SEC? We shall see. Number 8. There used to be a number 1 in the Big 12 in power rankings. Number 8 as they enter the SEC. Entering 2024, you can call Mizzou a college football playoff contender and not have anyone laugh in your face. And to think, entering 2023, Eli Drinkwitz was under 500 at Mizzou. But entering this season, Brady Cook back at quarterback, got most of their weapons. Shoot, at wide receiver, all their weapons back. Luther Burden, of course, is the headliner. Got to replace the SEC leading rusher in Cody Schrader. The defense pretty well torn apart, and this defense was lights out down the stretch. They went to the transfer portal to try to fill some gaps. Chris McClellan coming in from Florida, and also Clemson's Toriano Pride. At number 7 in the SEC, Mizzou. The Nico hype is running full throttle. Nico Iamaleava, the new Tennessee starting quarterback, who, of course, impressed in the bowl game against Iowa, 35-0 Vols, and 5 games total. Josh Heupel doing a heck of a job in Knoxville, and we know that if he's got the quarterback that is smart, distributes the football, doesn't make mistakes, i.e. Hendon Hooker, and not the guy that doesn't get the job done, Joe Milton, then this offense is a force to be reckoned with. Brew McCoy missed almost all of 2023. They've got a new wide receiver coming in from Tulane, Chris Brazold, 44 catches, 5 touchdowns. Holden Stays at tight end, 4 touchdowns receiving at Notre Dame. The defense was top 2 in the SEC in both sacks and tackles for loss. James Pierce, one of the very best in college football, rushing the passer and doing what he does. That's trapping ball carriers behind the line of scrimmage. This Tennessee team is losing 10 defensive backs, but Boo Carter is one to be excited about coming in this 2024 class. At number 6 in the SEC, Vols. Brian Kelly was hired to win big at LSU. He took them to an SEC championship game 2 years ago. They won 10 games. They won 10 games last year. What they've lost is Jaden Daniels and 2 of the top wide receivers in college football. Enter Garrett Nussmeier and 2 new coordinators, both sides of the ball. Nussmeier's not Jaden Daniels. He's not going to gain 1,000 yards on the ground. He's a pocket passer, but he's a former 4 to 5 star, depending on your service. Caleb Jackson could be the next star at running back for an LSU running back room that's been down in recent years. Kyron Lacey, possibly the next star at wide receiver for one of the best offensive lines in the country. The defense was deplorable last year. How does that happen at LSU? It's Blake Baker's job to fix it. LSU at number 5 in the SEC in our Voice of College Football Power Rankings. Ole Miss was once considered a college football playoff sleeper. Now let's consider the Rebels, yes, a national championship sleeper. Jackson Arnold, not widely considered one of the best quarterbacks in college football. He is, though. 23 touchdowns, 5 picks. And the array of running backs and wide receivers are ridiculous. If you wanted to see a highlight reel type catch, you watched Ole Miss football. Jordan Watkins, Trey Harris are ridiculous. The offensive line's really good. They will score a ton of points. They also brought in Nate Kalipo from the Joe Moore Award-winning offensive line in Washington. Juice Wells, another playmaker, in from South Carolina. On the defensive side, the transfer portal haul is ridiculous there as well. Highlighted by Walter Nolan coming in from Texas A&M. Prince Umanmielen coming in from Florida. Trey Amos, Alabama, and Chris Paul, Arkansas, all highly ranked among the transfer portal of 2023. At number 4 in the SEC, look out, Rebs. Kalen DeBoer's record as a college football head coach, 104-12. Sounds pretty similar to another former head coach in college football at Alabama. I think he was at Alabama. Yeah, transition from Nick Saban to Kalen DeBoer, the greatest of all time. DeBoer knows what he's doing. He's already proven that. He's got a different quarterback to work with, though. Not Michael Penix Jr., Jalen Milroe. But we know now, after the trial and error of last season, what Milroe is capable of. Run it like Cam Newton and throw it deep like a missile and on target. One of the best deep ball throwers. Forget that. The best deep ball thrower in college football in regards to velocity and accuracy. He can throw again. They are true bombs from Milroe. Justice Haynes may be the next dominant Bama back. And they picked up about half the Washington offensive line came in with DeBoer from Washington. Also, of course, new offensive and defensive coordinators both worked with DeBoer at Indiana. Nick Sheridan on the offensive side, Kane Womack on defense. This team lost 40 players through the transfer portal and the NFL draft, but the roster is still loaded. Bama loaded, but there's transition to be accounted for here. Our number 3 team in the SEC, Roll Tide. Sark finally got it done. In 9 seasons with 3 of the top programs, USC, Washington, and Texas, he finally broke through. Now the question is he a one-year wonder? It doesn't look that way. This team's loaded. They're recruiting out of their minds. Let's start with Quinn Ewers. When he's on his game, he's elite. Maybe the best in the game. And he's got weapons all over the place. And maybe Texas has taken over as that team that can lose this kind of talent, 5 premium playmakers, and still replace them. Of course, they got C.J. Baxter at running back and Jadon Blue. But let's get to the guys replacing guys like J.T. Sanders and A.D. Mitchell and Xavier Worthy. Matthew Golden coming in from Houston. Amari Niblack from Bama, as well as, of course, Isaiah Bond. Silas Bolden from Oregon State. Texas lost its 3 top defenders from a rushing defense that was number 3 in the nation, giving up just 82 yards per game. They were stout in the middle. They didn't necessarily replace 2 excellent players in the middle, NFL players, but they did pick up Trey Moore on the edge from Texas San Antonio, 14 sacks, and Andrew Makuba from Clemson, who's going to help a woeful Texas secondary from 2023. They're going to be much better this season. At number 2 in the SEC, hook 'em. It's practically a consensus. Number 1 best program in college football, Georgia. But they are not the national champions. They slipped up against Bama in the SEC championship game, and it was a 1-score game. It looks close on the scoreboard, and it was a close game, but make no mistake about it. Bama was clearly better on that night in Atlanta, and they ran out the clock in the final 4 minutes because the Georgia defense could not get off the field. This was not a dominant Georgia defense this time around. Well, they do have 5 stars coming in all over the place, including a couple guys that people are excited about in Ellis Robinson and KJ Bolden in the secondary, and Nazir Stackhouse and Michael Williams are 2 of the best in the middle. On offense, bring in Trevor Etienne at running back, although he could be suspended for a time after some off-the-field issues. And then you also have Colby Young coming in from Miami. But who's going to replace Brock Bowers? Well, the answer is nobody. Georgia replaces talent with talent, but that's like generational talent at the tight end position. For an offense to legitimately run through the tight end, not like at Iowa, legitimately run through the tight end, that is something special. Carson Beck's on his game. Kirby Smart's got this thing rolling. It's a monster, best program in college football, but they got to finish the mission in 2024. At number 1 in the SEC, Dawgs, our summer edition of SEC Power Rankings. Hope you enjoyed them. You see them scrolling by right now. Consider our SEC channel. Check it out. Please subscribe. And we've got an SEC live show on Tuesdays that's going live every day, starting with SEC Media Days in July. Please like and subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football.